I know your business has a bigger purpose than, and I don't mean to say just selling jewelry, because that's a great purpose in and of itself, and your work is so beautiful. But what's the larger purpose behind your business?
So jewelry, I guess we're using jewelry as our vehicle of showing other people and other businesses that people like Chris can have a job just like everybody else, and specifically I've been calling it a front of the house job, because some of the jobs that are available to Chris here are kind of in the back. Not that I'm nothing wrong with what they're doing, because at least someone's offering them a job. But a lot of jobs that are offered to people like Chris are doing things in the back where they can't be seen, or like easier tasks. And I'm just trying to give people like Chris an opportunity to show everyone else that it's really important for them to be included in our everyday lives, in our community, in our different jobs. And they might need some help. They might need things to be rearranged a little bit differently so that they can do their job. But the point is that they can do a lot of different jobs just like everybody else.
And you mentioned Chris's skills trainer. So is that kind of the biggest resource you have to assist you with and assist Chris in learning new things and keeping a schedule and planning? How does that work for you? And is that like your biggest resource, or is there something else that you lean on?
Absolutely. Suzanne is Chris's skills trainer, his registered behavioral therapist, his RBT, and she comes Monday through 4 days a week, Monday through Friday. And she helps Chris. Basically, she helps lighten the load for us and takes Chris to do things that he needs to do. Like she takes him to do his grocery shopping and his fitness. And she's basically supporting Chris because he can't drive. So she's invaluable. We love Suzanne.
Who can't drive?
You.
Oh, me.
You mentioned fitness, and Chris, I see you
on
Instagram and TikTok working out, dance, and what's the bungee thing you do? That looks so fun.
The bungee is more like I think more like hang on
like a rubber band?
Rubber band?
A giant rubber band?
Giant rubber band, yeah. Like it's kind of like rope work or whatever. What do you call it?
A bungee? Like a giant rubber band that you're attached to?
And then do you jump up and down, or what do you do?
Chris, what do you do?
Well, yeah, we kind of walk around, and we jump around, jump up high, front, and we kind of, we balance after hanging, but that's what I normally do with what I make up. That's what I made up. I guess I must have watched too much of the plays and all. I probably too much of the auditions at the place and all.
So you kind of make up your own routines sometimes for fun.
Sometimes, yeah.
When you do bungee,
I just got it from the play from a long time ago when my brother Parker and I were kids.
Chris, when she's talking, let her talk, okay?
Yes.
Well, I was just wondering if when you do bungee or you dance, does it make you feel better? Like, do you?
Yes, it makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah.
And bungee's kind of like some of the stuff you do is kind of like superhero stuff, right?
Well, something like that.
It's like short-term flying, right?
Short-term flying. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Welcome to Conversation Mill. My name is Rebecca Dale, and I am the host of the show. I have a passion for sharing how the creation of thriving local economies benefits us all. I'm fascinated by how we come together to form our communities on a macro and micro scale, and how our histories and stories, when shared, can not only motivate and inspire, but can facilitate understanding. As our communities, large and small, bring back a more progressive Main Street, individuals are stepping out to pursue their passions, and local leaders are pushing back against corporate greed. It's time to engage these community leaders and small business owners in conversation. What are the driving forces behind their courage and success? And how can we continue to build communities that embrace diversity, support the local economy, and create a healthy ecosystem for the culture at large? Join us now in conversation. Christian and Tiffany bring us into their world of jewelry making and navigating autism. I can honestly say I have learned the most about what I don't know in this episode. I'm not embarrassed to say I did not know how to speak to autism and Down syndrome or other differently abled people until this conversation. But we don't know what we don't know. And that's why conversations like this are so important to have. What I do know is that Tiffany and Chris are creating a much needed change in the way we interact with and acknowledge those with autism in our communities. Tiffany and Christian share their story the best, and so please join us in conversation. All right, so let's start with talking about you guys and your relationship. So, brother and sister, tell us a little bit about your childhood and growing up together.
So I'm Christian's older sister. I'm 36, and you're 33.
Yes, I'm 33.
So-
I'm Christian. Tiffany, little brother.
And then we have a younger brother, Parker, who's...
He's 31 now, actually.
Oh.
Or, I don't know, he could be 30.
And I think you're probably right, he's 31, and lives in Las Vegas. But we grew up in Kula in Maui, Hawaii, and we were all adopted. I'm from South Korea, Parker's from South Korea, different biological parents, and Chris is from Cambodia.
Yes, I'm Cambodian.
And
I never knew I'd like to be Cambodian at all.
what'd you say?
Never knew I'd like to be Cambodian.
You
but-
do like to be Cambodian?
No, I like being Cambodian.
Oh, thank God. Because Chris sometimes says he's white, which I'm always trying to encourage him to love himself for being Cambodian and Asian.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing wrong with being Asian.
So you're Cambodian,
Mhm.
and you said you haven't studied a lot about Cambodia. Would you like to?
I would like to, yes.
Yeah. And do you think you ever want to visit there someday?
Yes, even though it's a little warm there, but I'll get used to it and all. That's why I'm trying to keep the heat on and leave the cold air for Suzanne on.
Suzanne's a skills trainer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to build up for Cambodia and bring sunscreen too.
He always turns the heat on in her car when it's like boiling hot.
Oh,
But Chris,
That's
you
a-
probably have to lose the jacket.
that's a good way. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be too hot there for jackets for sure.
Too hot for jackets, huh?
Probably. Okay, so you guys grew up here on Maui. So tell me a little bit about what was it like growing up here on Maui? What kind of things did you do? What did you enjoy doing?
What did I enjoy doing?
Yeah.
As a kid, growing up here.
Oh, me?
Yep.
Yeah, both of you.
Oh, well, when Tiff and I were kids,
Can't remember, can ya?
we did watch movies though, right?
Watch movies.
Yeah?
Went to the Fun Factory.
Yeah, we went to Fun Factories, yeah. Cool.
Ooh.
Went to the beach. Used to go to Ma'alaya, the tide pools,
Tide pools, yeah.
with our parents. And probably played Power Rangers a little bit.
Yeah, we played Power Rangers, yeah. Only for a little bit.
So you guys grew up playing together and now you're in business together. So let's talk about that transition a little bit of going into business together and working together on the business. What was that transition like?
Well, that transition is like,
Is it hard to work with your sister? Or is it easy to work with your sister?
it's easy to work with my sister.
Probably depends on the day.
And that day, sometimes
Chris is a very good worker. He's a very good worker. And
well, we can't always work. We gotta take breaks eventually and all.
yep,
Mhm.
Chris loves taking breaks, especially for lunch.
But Yeah.
But we
probably should make people happy and all.
And you make them happy through the jewelry that you're designing, right?
Well, it's not always about the jewelry though, but I don't do it for money. I just give away jewelry for free.
Chris loves giving the jewelry away for free. I think the last time we did a pop-up at the hotel, we gave away half the stuff.
That's very kind of you. You just like that people appreciate it so much and you want them to enjoy it?
I just want them to enjoy the designs I do. I don't want to sell things or anything. I just want to more like giving and all, and rather than getting stuff and all. I'm maybe about fashion and this and all, but
Yeah.
just because I always have wealth or anything doesn't mean I care for it or anything. I just always want to give them the money because I always wanted to give them happiness every day.
Chris loves giving. When we first started selling, he would do that. He would give away the stuff for free. And at that time, when we first started selling at our pop-up at the hotel, all the money was going into Chris's bank account. So I was like, okay, I guess he can give some of the stuff away for free, even though I was paying for the materials. But we're still trying to teach him about money.
Sure.
Like, he has a credit card, but he doesn't understand that. He kind of thinks it's free money. Like, he says, oh, I got breakfast. But I'm like, oh, but Chris, you don't have enough money in your account. He's like, I'll just put on my credit card. But he doesn't understand that that you have to pay for it later.
Right.
So I think his commendable, nice, generous heart, and I know he sincerely means that, but it also kind of ties into him learning about money.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how the business came about. Can you kind of, for our listeners, take us back to how you came back to Maui, Tiffany, and where the idea to then start working together and build the business came from?
So I moved home in 2019. I was living in New York for about 10 years, and our dad had been kind of asking me for a long time to move home and help him with Chris. And so I finally did. And when I took over kind of managing his schedule, I realized planning someone else's schedule every single day as an adult is really difficult if there aren't too many opportunities for him, especially to have like a job that takes up a lot of your time. It's really hard, even now, and I think we have it down pretty good. It's still hard coming up with things for him to do every day that doesn't, because at first we were volunteering, cleaning cat litter at the Boo Boo Zoo, which is not easy.
No.
And or paying to go have him do an activity, like paying for classes. So it was not that sustainable,
right?
Since Chris is only 33. You're 33.
Yeah, I'm 33.
Yeah, so we both like jewelry, and I don't even really know where that idea came from, but I decided to like email a bunch of the hotels to see if we could get a table there at a hotel, and everyone said no except for the Kehlani, or we didn't get a response, which I think is typical. And I think we started doing that pretty soon after I moved here in 2019. And like I said, Chris was getting all the money, but then we ran into a little hiccup in that if you have a disability and if you're getting disability benefits, there's a cap, otherwise he'll start losing some of his benefits, like his skills trainer, which then we would have to pay out of pocket, that kind of thing. And so that's kind of where the idea of starting our business, Depo Market, came from. Mm-hmm. And, luckily we were able to turn what kind of seemed like a negative into a positive. So that started the whole idea, because I had never had any desire to start a store, mm-hmm. But wanting to expand on our business, which came from the whole Chris not being able to earn every single penny that we were making, being able to share that with other people like Chris in the community.
Sure. Where did the name Depo Market come from for your business?
So like Chris said, he was adopted from Cambodia, and he was found in a market in Cambodia called Depo Market, like a food market.
Okay.
And his middle name is Depo. And I thought that would be a really great name because it has so much meaning, even though everyone thinks it's Depot Market, but that's okay. So it has a lot of meaning to us, even though Chris wants to change it every other week to something else.
Well, I found an empty spot at Common Mall, so I found it. Well, actually, Suzanne found it.
An empty spot at the mall?
Yeah.
But Aaron's already almost done with your store.
We can name another store, too, though.
When you start branching out and start growing.
Yeah, when I start growing it, yeah.
You can build out that one. How about that?
The next one. But first, you got to get the first one open in Wailuku, right?
Yeah. Wailuku, yes, of course.
Are you helping build that one out? Are you helping design it?
Well, actually, I was trying to take a woodshop class, but it was a little... My thing was a little off.
Who's building the store?
Aaron is.
And who's Aaron?
He's my brother-in-law.
Who built Chris's house that we're sitting in and is building Chris's store.
That's great to have that resource and have somebody in the family that can help you.
Yeah,
We owe him a lot, don't we?
Yeah, we owe him a lot.
We owe him a lot, yeah.
Shouldn't have business, huh?
We better pay him.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I should.
Chris, so what's your favorite part of the jewelry making?
Well, my favorite part is the earring. The lanterns are my very most favorites and all.
Can you tell us about those? How do you make those?
Well, to first fold them and then put 3 parts together.
Mm-hmm.
And then you pull some wires and cut them, and I think you have to first put them through, I think, so. Then afterwards you put the danglies on below and the earring hooks on top after the crystal.
And you fold paper, you're doing origami to make the lantern shape?
Well, it's not just origami I'm doing also, but I'm trying to...
You're doing wire wrapping? And the paper part is origami?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Also, crystal jewelries.
He loves crystals.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I love crystals. I love all those jewelries. I love doing also metal jewelries and...
Chris took a metalsmithing class at the Hui.
I gave the ring to Riley.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you made a ring? Are you starting to make rings?
We don't have the setup, but he made a bunch of stuff at his class.
Oh, that's great. I know your business has a bigger purpose than, and I don't mean to say just selling jewelry, because that's a great purpose in and of itself, and your work is so beautiful. But what's the larger purpose behind your business?
So jewelry, I guess we're using jewelry as our vehicle of showing other people and other businesses that people like Chris can have a job just like everybody else, and specifically I've been calling it a front of the house job, because some of the jobs that are available to Chris here are kind of in the back. Not that I'm nothing wrong with what they're doing, because at least someone's offering them a job. But a lot of jobs that are offered to people like Chris are doing things in the back where they can't be seen, or like easier tasks.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just trying to give people like Chris an opportunity to show everyone else that it's really important for them to be included in our everyday lives in our community. They might need some help. They might need things to be rearranged a little bit differently so that they can do their job. But the point is that they can do a lot of different jobs just like everybody else.
And you mentioned Chris's skills trainer. So is that kind of the biggest resource you have to assist you with and assist Chris in learning new things and keeping a schedule and planning? How does that work for you? And is that like your biggest resource, or is there something else that you lean on?
Absolutely. Suzanne is Chris's skills trainer, his registered behavioral therapist, his RBT, and she comes 4 days a week, Monday through Friday. And she helps Chris. Basically, she helps lighten the load for us and takes Chris to do things that he needs to do. Like she takes him to do his grocery shopping and his fitness. And she's basically supporting Chris because he can't drive.
Mm.
So she's invaluable. We love Suzanne.
Who can't drive?
You.
Oh, me. Sorry.
You mentioned fitness, and Chris, I see you
Yes,
on Instagram and TikTok working out, dance, and what's the bungee thing you do? That looks
the
so fun.
bungee is more like
Like a rubber band?
rubber
Like a
band.
giant rubber band?
Giant rubber band, yeah. Like it's kind of like rope
Yeah.
work or whatever. What do you call it?
A bungee? Like a giant rubber band that you're attached to?
And then do you jump up and down, or what do you do?
Chris, what do
Well,
you do?
yeah, we kind of walk around, and we jump around, jump up high, front. Well, we balance after hanging, but that's what I normally do with what I make up.
Mm.
That's what I made up. I guess I must have watched too much of the plays and all. Probably too much of the auditions at the place and all.
So you kind of make up your own routines sometimes for fun.
Sometimes, yeah.
Well, I was just wondering if when you do bungee or you dance, does it make you feel better? Like, do you
Yes, it makes me feel a lot better.
Yeah.
And bungee's kind of like, some of the stuff you do is kind of like superhero stuff, right?
Well,
'Cause
something like
it's
that.
like short-term flying, right?
Short-term flying, yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. I think a lot of listeners might wonder, for you, Tiffany, what things you had to learn to better assist Chris and help him daily or help you cope with helping Chris.
In the beginning, I think in the first few months, I severely underestimated everything, I guess, because we moved in together right at the beginning of 2020 when everything kind of shut down and he didn't have any skills trainers. So that was maybe for the best. I don't know. But it was a crash course kind of. And because I had been on the mainland for 15 years going to college and then living in New York. So I hadn't lived with him full time for that long of a period since we were kids. So that was, and then I had transitioned very quickly into kind of a parental role, which I kind of continue to struggle with. But so I had to learn everything kind of quickly. And one of the things that took me a while to learn, because I was getting so overwhelmed and I would feel really guilty if I wanted to go do something for myself, if I wanted to leave Chris. And Chris is fully capable of being at home by himself for days even. And he might eat everything in the refrigerator, but he's fully capable of being at home by himself. But I would feel guilty if I wanted to go do something by myself or with friends if I had to leave him at home.
Well, I could always come back home and move back with you and all if you want.
Maybe later.
Okay.
But yeah, so that was giving myself. I think I had to force myself to be okay with it. Otherwise, because it was really tough. But we were also living with our mom, who I believe had an undiagnosed mental illness. So they would kind of trigger each other when they were having like highs and lows. So it was kind of a hurricane.
Yeah.
But we eventually got through it.
What helps you the most? What can people, friends, family, acquaintances, what can they do that helps you and helps Chris the most, that takes something off of your plate?
We have a friend, Lindsay, who I went to high school with, and she comes over pretty much every week and cooks with Chris, and they make a family meal for us. And and then some friends offer to take Chris to the movies or to a show or whatever. But it's been game changing since Chris lives in his own house now. Mm-hmm. It's actually been like probably the biggest game changer of all. But we are thankful for our friends that offer to help with Chris, because it's kind of a weird thing to ask someone, hey, could you hang out with my brother? So for the people that offer, it's really awesome, because we never asked. And our friend Lindsay, like I was mentioning, she there was a point in time in the hotel when the tourism industry like went crazy back into business, and we were struggling managing all the customers at the hotel, and she would like come to the hotel and help us and stuff. So she's like really gone above and beyond to help. help us and is really good with Chris.
Chris, what's it like living here in your own house now?
It's
Is it
It's
hard
nice
or
here.
easy?
it's nice here,
Yeah.
and I feel a little lonely sometimes, but
Mm-hmm.
always wanted a girlfriend.
Now you're
That's-
in a very good setup to have a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And we were worried about Chris feeling lonely, but this is the first time Chris has ever lived on his own and in his entire life, because when he was living at Laakea, he had a roommate and was in a house with multiple other people. So definitely a valid feeling to have, and we try to include him as much as possible.
Yeah.
But you've been doing great.
Yep.
What do you do when you get lonely out here?
Sometimes take a nap and do a meal prep, but I don't know. I didn't make a meal prep. I just
Sometimes you sneak some extra food. Now that
Yeah,
you have your own
sometimes, yeah.
refrigerator, watch TV a little
I
longer.
watch TV. Yeah,
Yeah.
I watch TV. I'll watch tots, and I'm not supposed to be, but I stopped watching that. But
It's just
I-
Power Rangers.
yeah,
Not Tots. I don't even know what Tots is.
yeah, but I just cut that one off though.
Mm.
And I also watch My Little Pony, which is my favorite kind of episodes and movies.
You mentioned cooking.
Cooking
And-
this.
I saw that I saw some of your cooking on TikTok.
Mhm.
Do you like cooking? What got you into trying new recipes and cooking?
Well, I tried making spaghetti sauce, but instead ended up making bruschetta.
Oh.
Chris's favorite thing in the entire universe is food. In the whole wide world is food. So
Yeah,
he
I-
loves cooking.
I'm sorry.
Do you like cooking? Do you cook? Are you vegetarian? What kind of food do you cook? Do you eat meat?
Well, I was trying to be more. Yeah, I guess I was trying to be more vegan, but
Mm.
That's not true.
well, actually, I was trying to make meatballs, but
Yeah. His heart's in the right place. His
Yeah.
stomach's in another place.
I get that.
I tried making meatballs.
He
but
eats a little bit of everything.
Mm-hmm.
But because Chris has high cholesterol, we do tend to eat more plant-based stuff.
Sure.
yeah, we're trying to keep healthy, fit, and
Chris is now the healthiest person in the family now.
Good for you.
Yeah.
You guys kind of had some viral moments on TikTok and you have really created a big audience. What feedback are you getting? Comments? Like, how are people receiving what you're putting out into the world? Because it's really great stuff and it's really showcasing how anybody can build a life no matter what their circumstances are. So what's that reception been like?
It's been crazy because I started it to kind of promote our business, but then the videos that people were connecting with were the ones where I was telling about the things that I do to help support Chris. Those are the things that were people were liking the most, and a lot of the comments that have been most common comments are the ones where other families like ours are saying, "Thank you so much. My kid's only 4, but this gives me a lot of hope for the future." Like that's kind of how a lot of the comments are that, which I couldn't really have anticipated. But they've definitely been the most meaningful and encourage us to keep making more videos.
Mm-hmm. And I know you've worked with some different groups in the past as well. Was it like Paralympics? that you
Achilles.
worked- Okay.
Achilles International is a nonprofit, and they're in multiple cities around the world. And I was part of the New York chapter. I think it's the biggest chapter. And they pair able-bodied athletes with disabilities to do all kinds of races, marathons, triathlons, pretty much every kind of sport. And some of the athletes do go to the Paralympics. And I was a paratriathlete guide.
Okay.
Which I also had no. If you knew me in high school, I was not athletic at all. So my friends were all really shocked that was something I was into at all. But also has helped me with Chris in his fitness journey too. Yeah.
And you mentioned living in New York. Can you take us a little bit through your career journey and what that looked like?
I went to art school at the School of the Art Institute in Chicago because I was always interested in, I guess I always thought I was going to be a fashion designer making clothes. So I went to art school in Chicago for 4 years. And then I moved to New York because I figured that's where all the artists were going, to New York City. And I was working at a trim manufacturing company in the fashion district where everything was being made by hand. And somehow I was doing like hand embroidery work for, I was embroidering samples for Ralph Lauren and stuff. And the company I was working for acquired a metal manufacturing company. And I had lugged all my shells from Maui to New York. And I started tinkering around and having them cast some shells. And that's how I kind of accidentally got into jewelry and learned all about the jewelry business in New York, started a jewelry business there, making mostly island-inspired jewelry. And yeah.
I was going to ask that because I'm not myself a big jewelry wearer, so I'm not very familiar with that industry. How would you describe the type of jewelry that you create?
I guess it's metal cast jewelry that I design. Well, now I'm designing most of the stuff at Depo Market, but I do still have some of my core pieces. But I design everything, and I usually work with, in New York, they have like old school jewelers, that like you have a design and then they'll mold it either in wax or in is that boring you?
No, I'm just a little tired.
I understand. It's early.
So I'll come up with a sketch or a design, and someone will actually make it by hand. I mean, now they can do it in 3D and CAD and stuff too. But
Sure.
I was working with like people that have been doing this for decades. That people don't do it anymore. And then that would be cast in a mold, and then the metal would be poured into the mold, and then that's kind of how it's
And I don't know if this is an indelicate question or not, but I think I know a lot of our listeners are small business owners or interested in small business. Is your jewelry business sustainable enough to provide for you financially and for Chris? Or do you have to supplement that?
So now, it was when I was in New York, and now it's kind of a mix because I went through a phase in New York where, I guess like in every, even in fashion, there's a lot of copying and stuff. I started the Maui necklace. Allison's wearing a ring that looks like it. I started that like over 10 years ago, and then everyone else started doing that. And I kind of lost all interest in making jewelry. And so I kind of took a really big step back in making jewelry completely, and I started working for a bike spinning company that I found through Achilles, and I kind of took a huge step back and only found my creative drive back when we started Depo Market. So and now I think it's because I have like a real purpose for what I'm doing, which is and working with Chris has been awesome. And I'm getting totally off topic what you initially asked.
No, that's perfect because that is something that, again, because I'm not really plugged into that world of jewelry, I guess I didn't really think about how you can design something and you're not like copywriting it per se.
Because I do not own the shape of the island of Maui.
Right.
Yeah. But if I have gone after people that have copied stuff that I did come up with.
Right. Like that's.
Yeah. That I did make, that came out of my brain. Yeah. It was really disheartening. People on island were selling the exact same thing. People that were selling my jewelry started copying my jewelry, like at stores and stuff. And, someone would be like, oh, hey, someone's already doing that. I'd be like, oh, but, I need to make money too. Like that would be their response. And it was just really disheartening. And I understand that it's, I understand people are selling it because it was my top selling piece. I totally get it, but it was really disheartening as an artist.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah. So for everyone listening, go buy their jewelry. Do not copy it. We will find you. What's the timeline for your brick and mortar
I
location?
keep saying a month. So I hope I do mean a month. So oh God, we're already in February. So hopefully in March.
Awesome.
We're hoping a few weeks to a month.
What's been the hardest part as a small business owner, especially now expanding into this brick and mortar? What's been the biggest challenge to overcome?
Thinking you could open it in a timely manner when you just had a baby.
Yes, we haven't even dug into that.
Again, I severely underestimated how much work a child is. That's because when I say we, Aaron, my partner, is building the store.
Yeah.
And so when he's over there working at the store, I have the baby all day, and then I love her, but it's hard work.
Yes.
So then, like, if I need a day off, then he doesn't get to work on the store because, like, he's kind of determined to make it on his own because he's such a skilled craftsman that he's saving money and then also wants to make sure he's doing a good job.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of why it's taking so long.
That's understandable, but it's also going to be such a great space because it does have that.
Yeah, it's going to be very personalized.
Yeah. Chris, what's it like being an uncle now?
Great.
Did you hear what she said?
Yes, being uncle is very great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What did you think about it? I mean, it's such a that's a big change for you. I mean, if Tiffany's having to postpone store opening and kind of cope with that, it's got to be such a challenge to be an uncle. What was that like?
What like?
Being an uncle.
You didn't hear a word she said.
Oh, yes. It's very great.
Why is it so great?
Cause,
Or what do you like about being an uncle?
well, told me I would have her come to my house probably just to, well, at least be a single uncle and all or anything like that.
What?
I'm kidding.
What are you trying to steal my baby?
No, I want to,
You are a single uncle.
oh, good.
Are you good at making her laugh, Chris?
Yeah, I'm good at making her laugh.
What do you do to make her laugh?
Peekaboo! Peekaboo!
That always works. That's solid. So, Chris, once the store opens, what will you be doing? Will you be working in the store and making jewelry there and helping sell it? Or
Yes, I want to be making jewelry, helping sell it, but wait, what's the other option, though?
I don't know.
So what I learned when I had the bright idea to start our business, I underestimated Chris's abilities to do jewelry because my background is also in jewelry. So I kind of stupidly thought what he does is easy. And I thought we could teach other people like Chris and it would be no problem to do, because we had a charm table. That was what we were doing. And I kind of thought because it was so easy, everyone would be able to do it. But then when I was trying to train a couple other adults, they couldn't do it. And I was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And so our business at the store is going to be a little different. We're going to be selling things that are already made, ready-made jewelry. And so that way everyone can work there and they don't have to worry about making it. But if they want to make it, they can. So that most of the jewelry will already have been made. But if someone wants a special piece, then they can book an appointment to work with Chris. That's kind of what we're planning on doing. So Chris will be working there and also making jewelry.
That's great. And how many days a week will Chris be working there? Or Chris, how many days will you be working there?
How many days will I work there?
Yeah.
I may be working there for, I'll try to get up earlier if I could.
You can actually get up later. It's later than the hotel.
Oh, good.
It'll be short. It'll actually be shorter hours, but more days. I think 3 or 4 days.
And closer to your house.
Very much closer.
Very much closer.
You could bike there if you really wanted to.
We could try.
Tiffany, what advice do you have for other families or other caregivers out there that are putting together these schedules, helping teach skills? What was the best advice you got from somebody that kind of helped you?
I don't know what advice I got, but one of the things that has been helpful for both me and Chris, one of the things I've noticed, and this is, people might not like hearing this, but I've noticed that people that are parents, like our parents did this, that they kind of tend to baby their their kids, their adult kids, and so they're not always giving them the opportunity to do things on their own. And I definitely understand that now as a parent, that I probably will treat my daughter differently, like in a more protective way than I treat Chris, because he's my sometimes annoying younger brother. So I do want him to do things on his own, so I don't have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but at the same time, it's also, he's able to do things on his own now that we never probably gave him the chance to do, and that partially came from a place where I need time to do stuff and I can't do everything for Chris, and then also it gives him, he's gained so much confidence in himself, giving him all this freedom to do things on his own, especially being able to live in his own house by himself. Like, I don't know if we ever pictured that, as I kind of always thought Chris would need a roommate, but as his previous roommate, it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
But he's been out here for almost a year, almost a year now, and he's been doing so well, and he's fully able to be out here by himself. So I'm not sure if we love our dad, but I'm not sure if he ever would have envisioned that for himself. He probably would have
pushed him,
had him living where he had been in a residential place, or been living with having him live in home with him for a long time. And I've seen that with other similar, and a lot of the comments on our TikTok also have been like, my parents baby my sister so much, like I wish they would watch this so they could give her some more freedom and stuff like that. So that's also been a comment that we get a lot too. So
Yeah.
one thing that you talked about recently that really struck a chord with me, and my partner and I had a conversation about it with our own nephews, is young kids being exposed to people with, whether it be physical disabilities, mental handicaps, and experiencing different types of people. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Because I think that's something that other parents may not think about.
I think you wouldn't think about it at all unless you had someone like Chris in your life. And unfortunately, we do have some not nice situations, and most of those situations are usually with strangers, not kids that we know. Well, but it's almost always with kids, and I think it's because they don't really have a filter, and they're really, really good at picking up on the fact that Chris is different. Like when we're at our pop-ups, that I can tell that they immediately they'll just stare at him because they can sense that something's a little different. Even when adults don't initially pick up on it, they kind of just, I can tell that they just think he's weird. But kids immediately are just so good at picking up on that something's a little different, and sometimes they're really nice and sometimes they're really, really mean. And yeah, we've gotten into situations where we're at like a friend of mine's party for their kid, and some kids there, this has happened on multiple occasions, where the kids at the party will be really mean to Chris, and I don't know how to handle it because I'm at my friend's house with their friends, and my initial reaction, I think because I'm so hot-tempered, is to be like, you can go off. But this is some of my biggest regrets, is I don't know how to handle it. Especially how I wish I could handle it how I would like to. And so usually we just stop going to their birthday parties because whatever. But, and sorry, my answers are so long.
No, thank you. I think it's such an important conversation to have, because, and another thing that I wanted to kind of talk to you about too, because as I was asking that question, I was like, did I use the wrong language in asking it as like, what language do you like people to use? Because I use the word a mental handicap, but I think, is that outdated language? Is it more polite or less offensive to say autistic or severely autistic?
It honestly depends on the person. Like I'm technically not the right person to ask. Like if you ask Chris, he would say he does not have autism and he does not have a disability. That's how I'm pretty sure he would answer. But we've had comments on TikTok saying, don't say it like that. We've had comments saying, don't say my autistic brother, say my brother with autism. We've had people saying, say he's autistic, not has autism. So it honestly depends on the person. But I've met adults with autism that say I'm autistic. And I would say the one word that people don't really, that I've never heard in the disability community is handicapped. I think that's kind of an outdated word that's not used. That's the only thing I can really think of. And it honestly just, like, I've had parents say you shouldn't say it like that, but it's honestly up to the person's preference. I try to be even the comments that aren't that nice, and I know they're trying to be helpful in a not nice way, I try to like research and understand where they're coming from. And but yeah, Chris, I think, would probably say he doesn't have autism.
What would you say, Chris?
He says he's regular ed. That's what he likes saying.
Okay.
Well, I should have more. Well, I probably don't have to say that anymore. I graduated from high school last time. I'm trying to go to.
So would you say you have autism?
Well, no, I don't have autism either, but more like regular ed, yeah.
And I think it's because he associates it with a bad thing. And so I've been kind of unsuccessfully trying to teach him that there's nothing wrong with having autism, and part of the reason why he's so special.
I never did anything wrong with autism. Not everyone has the disabilities, no.
But I'm trying to show you that it's okay if you have a disability. Like when we took on...
I kind of have a little bit, but maybe no. I don't know. Who knows?
We brought on an adult with Down syndrome, and I said, Chris, is it okay if this person comes and works with us? And he said, well, I don't know if people are going to like that very much. Because I think he really associates having a disability with something bad. And I think that's why he says he doesn't have autism, because he just wants to be seen like everybody else, which I completely understand.
Yeah.
But I also want him to know that a lot of people have autism and that they're really awesome people. But I'm not sure if we're there yet.
And it is...
And that ties into the whole thing with teaching kids and having people like Chris out and normal, regular jobs, because people don't ever see people like Chris out in society unless they're out with their group doing a community service type thing. They're just, you never see them working retail at the store. And so that kind of ties into this whole thing of having a place where people can see people like Chris doing regular jobs. So it kind of all ties into the...
It is interesting, right? Because it kind of does feel like almost like this last taboo. Like we don't really have a lot of taboos in our society anymore. And this is just something that people really don't talk about. So I don't, like, even I am not 100% sure on all the language to use or the questions to ask. And that's why I'm asking the questions, because I want to learn, where people are too afraid to ask the question for fear of offending or
totally
their own fear or uncomfortability.
Totally. When I see kids looking at Chris when we're selling jewelry, I'm like, hey, Chris has autism. This is what autism is. And usually they're like, okay, whatever. But like, we are very open to having a conversation, and
it's just constant growth for everybody involved,
yes.
Whether it's the strangers, whether it's you, whether it's Chris, it's an ongoing process.
And it's crazy because people with disabilities is the largest minority group in the world.
Yeah.
Like everybody has met or knows someone or has a family member with it could be, depending on, it greatly varies, the disability, but it's kind of crazy that that's still a big thing. Yeah.
Chris, what would you say to other people that are autistic that want to start doing a job? Because you're being a very successful jeweler. What advice would you have for other people that might want to try to do something like that?
Well, if anyone has talent of doing jewelry, then I believe so, but that's what I believe, but...
They should try it? They should take a risk and try something different?
Well, I'm saying that they should take a risk and fulfill their dreams.
That's great. Yeah, that's great advice. So one question that I ask everybody on this podcast to wrap up the episodes is, if you could sit down and have a conversation with anyone, whether living, dead, who would you love to sit down and talk to?
Sorry?
Chris, if you could talk to anybody ever, living or died, anyone ever, who would you want to talk to? What about anybody famous or something?
Anybody famous? Well... Michael Jordan.
Ooh, that's a good one. I'd like to talk to
Kate
him
Middleton.
too. I was expecting a royal person in there.
Kate Middleton, that's a good one too.
Chris is obsessed with the
Princess
royal
Dara, Prince William, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis.
What about Meghan Markle?
Meghan Markle and Prince Harry.
That's, you know what? I've been watching a lot of stuff about the royals lately. People can tell you I'm really interested in them too. So I would like to talk to some of those people too, especially Kate Middleton. I think she would be very interesting.
Probably has some secrets.
I think so.
She probably has some good secrets.
But I talked to her kids too, and who are also the royals.
Tiffany, who would you love to sit down with?
I would say our mom, but I think if I get into it, I'll probably start. Mostly because I just had a child and it was hard.
Good
Not
advice.
having her here.
Mhm.
Even though we had a rocky relationship. But yeah. I'm kind of surprised you didn't say mom too, but Kate Middleton's important too. You're not even listening to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I was saying, wouldn't you want to talk to mom?
Yes, Mom.
Yeah?
Of course I want to talk to Mom.
And tell her you're starting a business?
Yes.
That's cool.
When will I see her?
I guess... these are some deep questions. I guess in your dreams? Or when it's your time to go where mom is?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry to bring this up.
It's okay.
Sometimes good conversations make you cry.
Yeah. It's okay, Tiff.
Thanks.
Yeah. I care about Mom too.
Those crocodile tears.
Well, thank you so much, Chris, for sitting down with me and talking to me. And thank you, Tiffany, for opening up. And I learned so much. I think our listeners will learn so much from this conversation. I appreciate how open and honest you guys are and what you guys are doing. I think your jewelry store is going to be very successful. And I think you guys are making a big change in the world. So thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for having us. Such an honor. Yeah.
It's an honor.
Welcome to Conversation Mill. Join me as I talk to individuals stepping out to pursue their passions, from small business owners to community leaders, and learn with me how we can work together to support our local communities and local economies. Visit conversationmill.com to learn more, but now please join us in conversation.